Listen to a true crime story, The Axeman of New Orleans. Level B2, Oxford Reading University.
One very quiet morning in March 1919, everyone in New Orleans was very concerned. Just a week earlier, there had been a terrible attack on the Cordemelia family, and a little girl named Mary, who was only 2, had died. People were anxious and frightened. The fear grew even more when a local newspaper shared a scary letter from someone saying they were the Axeman, the one behind the recent attack. He stated that he was not a person but a spirit, a wicked demon from the depths of hell, and promised to soon come back and kill more people. If I wanted, I could come to your city every night. I could easily kill many of your people because I have a strong connection with the angel of death, he wrote. The letter concluded with a rather odd request. At 12:15 o'clock on the upcoming Tuesday night, I will fly over New Orleans. In my great kindness, I have a proposal for the people. Here it is. I really like jazz music, and I promise, with all the devils in the underworld, that I will spare anyone in whose house a jazz band is playing at the time I just mentioned. If every home has a jazz band playing, that's even better for the people. But I'm sure of one thing. Those who aren't enjoying jazz on Tuesday night, if there are any, will be in trouble. Now I'm feeling cold and longing for my home in Tartarus, and it's about time I left your world. So, I'll stop talking. I hope you'll publish this so it goes well for you. I've been, am, and will be the worst spirit ever, whether in reality or imagination. The Axeman. As New Orleans is known for its love for music, the night that came next was quite unusual. When it was almost 12:15 a.m., the streets were quiet except for jazz music playing everywhere. People at home played music on their record players or with any band they could make. The music was what kept them safe and gave them hope on a scary night. However, not everyone liked that sudden nightly concert. Many people blamed the newspaper for frightening people. They thought the letter was probably just a dark joke and that the newspaper took it too seriously. That night, nothing terrible happened. When morning came, everyone in the city felt relieved. It seemed like jazz music managed to scare the killer away. That was the end of the story of the Axeman, a notorious murderer who terrorized New Orleans in the early 20th century. You are invited to follow his bloody path throughout the years. Although some people suppose the Axeman started in 1918, some historians think differently. They believe he might have started committing murders earlier, in 1910, under the name the Cleaver. One night in August 1910, Harriet Crudy woke up to see a man standing over her. He had a meat cleaver and told her he would hurt her like he did her husband if she didn't give him money. He took $8, which was a lot of money back then, and their pet mockingbird then left. After he left, they saw how he had broken in. He had taken out a piece of glass from the kitchen door to try to unlock it. When that didn't work, he used a heavy metal pin to break in. Auguste Cruty was hurt, but not dead. He was taken to the hospital and soon got better. About a month later, another scary event happened. Conchetta and Joseph Rossetto were attacked. Conchetta was hurt badly, and her face was permanently damaged, while Joseph lost sight in one eye. The attacker didn't seem to want money or jewelry. By summer 1911, the Cleaver killed his first victim. It was Joseph Davy, a young store owner. On the night of the murder, his pregnant wife, Mary, woke up to see a scary man with what looked like a butcher's knife over her husband. She was so scared that she didn't do what the man said, so he hit her with a mug, and she lost consciousness. Sadly, her husband died a day after he was attacked. No money had been taken from the house. John D'Antonio, a detective, tried to solve this mystery. When he looked at the evidence from the Cleaver attacks, he thought that the $8 taken from the Crudis was just to confuse people. He believed the real reason for the attacks was that the criminal wanted to hurt people. The newspapers noticed that all the victims were Italian tradesmen. People started to talk, and some thought the mafia, especially a group called the Black Hand Society, was involved. But there were things that didn't fit. Mary Davy, who saw her husband get attacked by the Cleaver, said something different. She was sure that the man who hurt her husband didn't look like an Italian and spoke English very well without any accent. To make things more confusing, the Black Hand Society wasn't really a group, but a tactic to scare people. The locals were familiar with their threatening letters signed with the picture of a black hand. They usually shot, stabbed, or sometimes used bombs to get rid of their victims. But using an axe? They hadn't done that before. Something surprising came up later. Before he was killed, Joseph Davy got letters with the Black Hand sign. He ignored the first two, but after he died, his brother Peter found a third letter. In all of them, the sender asked Joseph for money. The demand was followed by threats, alarming but not very specific. Sam Pizzo, an Italian store owner known for his love for conflict and illegal activities, was seen arguing with Joseph a week before the murder. People wondered if Sam was the criminal. But Mary Davy was sure about what she had seen. The man who attacked her husband didn't look like Pizzo. So people were disappointed, and the search for answers continued. 6 years went by and things seemed calm in New Orleans. But in 1917, as the new year started, the city received a terrible surprise. It broke the peace in the quiet streets of the French Quarter. One dark winter morning in 1917, the silence in New Orleans was disturbed by screams. Anna Andolina was woken from her peaceful sleep by a stranger standing over her husband, Epifanio. The gleam of a hatchet and the cold gun showed that this visitor meant harm. The attacker ordered Anna to stay quiet, then he hit Epifanio with a hatchet several times. Before leaving, the attacker hurt their young sons. One boy was hit with the hatchet, and the other was knocked with the dull end of the gun. Strangely, the man had cut a piece out of the wooden back door to get in, but he didn't steal anything. Even though many people in the city had been threatened by the Black Hand, this family hadn't. Sadly, a few months later, Epifanio died, but not due to his injuries. He fell victim to the Spanish flu. Meanwhile, the New Orleans Police Department had a tough time after Superintendent Reynolds, who was investigating the cleaver cases, died. His death caused a problem because they lost someone who understood the cases well. Frank Mooney, who was not from New Orleans but from Illinois, was put in charge. This was a desperate move to try and fix the growing frustration with the local police, which some people thought were not doing a good job. All the while, the murders continued. Another attack happened in May 1918. In a small grocery store in Uptown, a couple named Maggio were killed in a way that reminded people of past attacks. Their own axe, which had their blood on it, was left in their bathtub. Another weapon, a rusty razor, was found later. The crime scene suggested a robbery, but nothing valuable was stolen, meaning the attacker had a different motive. At first, people thought the youngest Maggio, Andrew, might have done it. He came to the scene after hearing his brother's cries for help. They questioned him and kept him away from his grieving family. Andrew, upset, asked how they could think he'd hurt his own brother. In another part of the city, there was a new mystery. This time, a 28-year-old mother named Mary Schneider, who was about to have her fourth baby, was attacked. While she was sleeping, someone broke into her home and used a lamp from her bedside table to hit her. More than $100 were stolen, and an axe was missing. People thought the Axeman might have been behind it, but this crime didn't have the same features as the ones the Axemen usually committed. Luckily, Mary Schneider survived the attack and successfully had her baby, a girl named Clara. On the night of March 8, 1919, Charlie and Rosie Cordemelia, who owned a grocery store, had a terrifying experience. They were found injured and bleeding with their dead 2-year-old daughter Mary between them. Even though the room was a mess, nothing was stolen. Close by, they found 2 axes, and one of them had the victim's blood and hair on it. Charlie died from his injuries, but his wife survived. The Cordemelias were not the only family who suffered as a result of the attack. The Giordanos, who had moved to the area in 1910 and opened a grocery store, were their neighbors. Frank Giordano, a 17-year-old, was friends with little Mary, and the two families were very close. For some time, the Cordemelias ran the store owned by the Giordanos. But in 1918, after some business disagreements, the families grew apart. The Giordanos took back their store, and Charlie, not to be outdone, opened his own store right next door. This changed things, and the relationship between the two families grew sour. Then the attack happened, and because of the conflict between the Cordemelia and Giordano families, the police believed Frank and his old father, Orlando Giordano, were the ones responsible. Rosie, who was still suffering from the attack, first said she couldn't remember who did it. But one day later, she stated that it had been the Giordanos. The town was shocked. They couldn't believe that their neighbors, who were almost like family, could do such a horrible thing. The courts acted quickly. Orlando was sent to prison for life, and Frank was sentenced to be hanged. While the father and son were stuck in prison, the real person who committed the crime was still free, maybe laughing at how he escaped punishment. In February 1920, the events took a surprising turn. Rosie, who felt guilty for her false testimony, went to the local newspaper and confessed that she had lied about the Giordanos. Her mind was confused because of the trauma, and she had accused two innocent people. After the Giordano father and son went through the suffering of being wrongly accused and imprisoned, and after a painful legal process, they were finally set free. But the Axeman, who was the real person responsible for what had happened to the Cordemelias, was still not caught. You remember what happened afterward. The Axeman's letter was published, then an improvised nightly jazz concert took place. After that, no one heard from the Axeman again. We can't even say for sure if it was him who wrote the letter or if it was a dark prank. Many people have been victims of the terrible Axeman, and there have also been many suspects. But among all the potential Axemen, one name stands out: Joseph Mumfre. He was a black-hander, and he got a bad reputation in 1907 when he was arrested for trying to bomb an Italian grocery store. Because of all the strange things in the Mumfre case, it was clear that he would be connected to the Axeman murders. This theory became especially popular after the murder of Mike Pepitone, a regular grocery store owner in New Orleans. He was killed one dark night, brutally attacked with an iron bar while he was sleeping. His widow, Esther, soon married Angelo, a man who used to do business with Mumfre. Destiny led the new couple to move to Los Angeles in 1919, but their happiness didn't last long. Soon, Angelo disappeared mysteriously. Then, in a surprising twist, Mumfre appeared on Esther's doorstep and demanded money. He drew his gun, saying he'd kill her like he did her husband. Esther pretended to agree. She went to her room, not to get money, but to get a weapon. In a dramatic fight, Esther shot Mumfre 11 times and ended the criminal's life. Even though Esther's story of revenge was very exciting, it didn't prove that Mumfre was connected to the Axeman. The story changed each time people talked about it, from the police in LA to the streets of New Orleans. Many of the Axeman's victims were Italian or Sicilian, and strangely, most of them owned grocery stores. He once killed an Italian barber, but it later turned out that his niece owned a grocery store nearby. The Axeman seemed especially interested in people in this trade. Italian and Sicilian people came to America hoping for a better life and soon set up small, successful grocery stores, becoming an important part of the city. In a time without big supermarkets and fridges, these small grocery stores were very important to the city. Those victims were not just numbers in the Axeman story, they were real people with their own dreams and histories. If you visit New Orleans today, you'll still hear stories about the Axeman. Ghost tour guides talk about him, his stories are used to promote scary jazz concerts during Halloween, and he's even been featured on the popular TV show, American Horror Story. But as with many old stories, the real details about the Axeman have changed over time. The true events and the sad stories of his victims are now hidden behind the image of a jazz-loving gangster. The mix of music and crime seems almost romantic to people today. We enjoy being scared when we know we're safe. That's why we love ghost stories and true crime podcasts. But the real victims are often forgotten. Their stories aren't told because they become small parts of a bigger story. With New Orleans' deep history of music, mystery, and crime, it's not surprising that people are still interested in the story of the Axeman and his connection to jazz, whether it's true or just a legend.
It's hard to read books in English when there are so many unknown words. What if you could click the word and see the translation in the transcription? Then reading English books will become easy and fun. You can do it in the EWA app. Our books are bilingual. You can check the meaning of the words in your native language. Check out appewa.com now. Send this video to a friend who likes true crime stories. And now, listen to another English story